Mendoza, I got the most exposure to him of anybody in the class. I watched 12 games of his. And I think the conversation around him right now is he worthy of the number one pick? And I don't know if I have an answer for you. Curious, out of curiosity, Elson, what is your grade on Fernando Mendoza?
1 to a 2.
Okay,
And
cool.
it's not like a barely a 1 to a 2. Like, yeah, 1 to a 2.
Okay, cool. So I had him as a true one, bordering on a one through a two. So I don't think we see him all that differently. You just love Klubnik. I can respect that. Um, he looks the part of an NFL quarterback. He's got that frame with good thickness, a great base, and height that allows him to just clearly see over the NFL lines. Um, I'm I am a little bit hesitant to call his arm like elite, like some people want to say. I think it's great. I think it's probably a B plus arm talent. I think where he really shines is velocity. Like that ball in the 10 to 15-yard range, it just looks like a missile coming off of his hand. Like it releases quickly. As far as like smoothness throwing deep and getting that 50 yard back foot throw, I don't think it's as good as Aller. I don't think it's quite on that level, but I still don't think it's very good. He can throw, he can command the ball down the field very far in a short amount of time. So the physicals check out. And I don't think he's a poor mobile quarterback. You saw him make a lot of big runs in the national championship run. There's a lot of stuff there. So he's such an interesting evaluation because I watched him for summer scouting 2023 and 2024 at Cal. My biggest knock on him was like this guy has just genuinely terrible accuracy all over the field. It's abysmal. Just can't really hit the broad side of a boat. It's a massive strength for him now. He goes to Indiana and he's a very accurate quarterback at pretty much every level of the field, especially when he's kept clean under pressure. There's a little bit more gray area, but he places balls with incredible precision on the right shoulder that makes them inaccessible to defenders on the outside of it. Like you're not going to find a guy who throws a better back shoulder throw, who throws a better comeback route on the outside. He's just putting it in the perfect spot every time, especially outside of the numbers. And that ball rarely scatters. Even over the middle of the field, you're just not going to see him miss by a whole bunch. Often, we talked about mechanics. I think his mechanics are very good. He's improved every year at that, a lot more when he went to Indiana. Again, we've talked about a lot of guys who are poor decision makers. I think Mendoza does a really good job with that. I think he limits the turnover worthy plays in short areas. He's really quick to throw, make those decisions, and he's really poised. Like he knows what he's going to do. He's got a plan and he's going to execute it in those short areas. He's also really good in the red zone, like really confident, decisive player who didn't really turn the ball over. So that's another massive plus. Um, it's really tough to say though, because okay, how do I want to put this? When you're talking about Mendoza outside the numbers and when you're talking about him between the numbers, it seems like there are two different players sometimes because I feel and it's the same goes for when you're talking about him short 5 to 10 yard concepts and intermediate concepts. Middle intermediate of the field is the most important thing for any quarterback to attack, in my opinion. Um, in the NFL. That is where your money is made. Obviously, the deep ball, the short ball are both really important. But if you can't do that intermediate stuff over the middle of the field, you will not be a successful quarterback unless you're in that system. Unless you're in a Russell Wilson type system where you're doing that, you're not going to be successful. And as this like 6'5", 225 type of guy, I expect you to be able to do that. And it really feels like sometimes he just couldn't do it. He did show flashes of throwing with anticipation, those throws of throwing in with anticipation with incredible arrogance were all over the place outside of the numbers. But then you put him over the middle of the field. You have this tight window dig route, and it just felt like there was a lot of hesitation that went along with that. So that was a knock on him. If the outside confidence and accuracy and reading the ability to read the defense was there on the inside, he'd be an easy top 5 talent for me. He's just not. Um, Another thing that I really do like about him, obviously, he's become a media darling recently, and for good reason. A very outward personality. It's positive. He's got a healthy attitude, and that's just a really good thing to think about when you're drafting a quarterback. Everything seems to indicate he's a tremendous leader. Kind of a Disney Channel like story. Struggles to Cal, and he's team leader and a Heisman and a national champion, bringing Indiana back from the brink, and that's great. You love to see that. it's really tough. I'm going to let you talk about it because there's a million things that you could say about him, and I'm sure I'll say more, but I'm going to cut myself off and let you go ahead.
So I don't want like the story of my Fernando Mendoza evaluation to be that I think Fernando Mendoza is bad because yes, I am lower on him than consensus. I have a 1 to a 2 on him. I still think that if he goes to the right situation, he could be a baller of an NFL quarterback. It's just what I'm really concerned about is that he's going to go to the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the Raiders are not going to have good pass protection for him unless they pull off some minor miracle in free agency and the draft. My big hang up on Fernando Mendoza is that he takes terrible sacks.
Oh yeah.
Terrible sacks. Passing up open receivers, wide open over the middle of the field sacks. Like
Mm-hmm.
perfectly executed hot read sacks. And he tucks the ball and eats it. And then even when it's not like you need to replace a blitz, he just holds the ball too long. He will hold it too long in the pocket. He will hold it too long trying to escape the pocket. And I think one area we disagree, I think he might be the least mobile quarterback that I watched. I think it's close between him and Garrett Nussmeier.
Let's.
He has a lot of fun college rushing plays. He is barely surviving. And I am
I have
incredibly
him.
confident.
I have him as the second lowest mobile behind Nussmeier. So I agree with you on that.
Okay, okay. You watch the national championship, you say, okay, this guy is doing things that mobile quarterbacks do. And then you watch the process by which he is doing them, and you say, that is not going to translate into the NFL. And that is absolutely going to be a sack if you try that. And even in spite of, I think him getting away with a lot of stuff that's like right on the border of being acceptable at Indiana, a team with a fantastic offensive line, he still has the worst pressure to sack ratio of anyone in this class at 21.1. And he has never been any good with pressure to sack ratio. He was bad for his first 2 years at Cal, and then he was bad this year at Indiana. That is by far the thing I'm most worried about. And look, like it's one thing to be taking sacks because you're getting super deep into progressions and you are constantly threatening defenses. I think he does most of his threatening very early in the down, working back shoulder, working the 9 route. Again, I think his arm is great, easily one of the better arms in this class. I think one reason I was too low on him coming into the season is I just think he got bigger and stronger and he had more zip and it expanded his operational range and allowed him to do more damage. But you take that stuff away later in the progression, I thought he got stuck on his receivers pretty consistently. I think you mentioned the arm arrogance, just locking onto guys and making bad decisions. It did not feel fluid to me. And if you're going to take sacks, I need it to be because you are getting through reads and you are distributing the ball. And I didn't see that. There was just so much getting stuck. And if you're getting stuck at Indiana with great pass catchers and pretty solid offensive design and a great offensive line and a great run game, I really worry about what your down to down operation is going to look like when you play for the Raiders. I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be an NFL starter. Like, obviously, he'll start on day one. I don't think he'll look like a starting QB on day one. That is my take. I think it might be a disaster year one with the Raiders. We'll see. Maybe the new hire will do a lot of heavy lifting there, but I have faith that with Fernando Mendoza's work ethic, which I really do think is exceptional, he will address a lot of those weaknesses. He did get a lot better this year going from Cal to going to Indiana. There were genuine improvements that he made. It
Yeah.
wasn't all systemic. I just think it'll take him a little while. And if I had to bet, I would say he is never that player for the Raiders. So that is the nature of the 1 to a 2 grade. I don't want to be low on Fernando Mendoza. I am absolutely rooting for Fernando Mendoza. He is incredibly likable. It's just, I can't ignore that really significant weakness I saw on tape that is backed up by the pressure to sack ratio.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really bad. I think a part of why he takes so many sacks and why he takes so long and sits in the pocket for way too long, doesn't get rid of the ball, is because he's just slow on his progressions. He gets stuck. He takes a couple more seconds to read out the field. Like when you watch like Carson Beck or when you watch Jesus Christ, Ty Simpson get through the progressions. It's quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm done. Mendoza, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time you've gotten to 3, you're sacked. And by the time he's gotten to 2 in the NFL, he's sacked. By the time he's gotten to 2 in the NFL, For the Raiders, he's been sacked for a while. So that is, I absolutely agree with you. If I'm the Raiders, with Mendoza, I think some teams, if they're the number one pick, I think they should take him. I don't think the Raiders should take him with the number one pick. I think they should try to find somebody who would take him with the number one pick, because he was just really poor at dealing with pressure for most of the season. It was a big talking point before the playoffs, and I'll give him this one thing that I was more leaning towards 1 through 2 as I was going through his season. I'd watched 4 or 5 games of the 2025 season, and I just gotten off of the Purdue game, by far his worst game. Really just struggling with pressure all over the place. He'd thrown a couple of really bad picks. Like, we'd heard all the stories about the comebacks, the comeback against Penn State, comeback against Iowa, comebacks in the playoffs. And when you watch the games, yeah, the comebacks are cool, but why did they have to come back? It's because he threw 2 or 3 picks against Penn State, and they were bad picks where he got stuck on a progression. Then he saw something, and he didn't really quite have the confidence in his arm or his ability to process the defense to throw it. By the time he realized it was open, he either throws it, and in this case, he did throw it, and it got picked by a Penn State defender, and it was a really bad decision, incredibly late on the corner route, or he just doesn't throw it and he takes the sack. So when the pressure came, especially down the barrel, like coming right at him, he just panic. The eyes goes down. His footwork gets inefficient, and he's not fast enough. He's not mobile enough to escape the pocket, to escape a blitzing linebacker. Some guys are. He can't do the Big Ben slide. He can't do the Taylon Green pirouette. Not that he should, but he can't do that. He can't escape the pocket like that. I do think he did show some instincts for, like, if there's pressure coming off of the edge, finding that lane in front of the scramble, finding that lane in between linemen to scramble. And that's why I liked his mobility, not just because he was very fast. I don't think he's fast, but because he has a knack for finding those lanes. But another thing was, he really just wasn't able to adjust to late blitzers or really quick speed rushes. Like, there were a lot of times where he almost got strip sacked, or he did get strip sacked, because a nickel came flying out late. And I think there's still some work to do with his pre-snap reads of the defense, with his pre-snap reads of the blitz package. I think there's quite a lot of work to do there. I really like him as a player. I think he's got a great floor. I think he will start in the league no matter what. The pressure is an issue. I think it was a lot better in the playoff, and those were against the best defenses, against Miami, against Ohio State in the conference championship game. He played a lot better. I felt like he was able to step up in the pocket, do that little hitch, and get rid of the ball. He didn't pass up as many plays. And that is something I really value, playing your best games in the biggest moments against the best competition, having poise, not bending to the light. And he did a really good job of that. That makes me think he will fix some of that stuff. That makes me think that there is that progression track where he's going to continue to get better at that. We've seen him get better every single year of his career. We saw him get a lot better at Indiana. And when you watch most of the season, you realize him playing at Oregon early in the season versus him playing against Oregon in I believe the semifinals, completely different player. They were just playing differently. He got a lot better throughout the season, throughout his career. I think that he will be a good NFL player. I just really worry if he goes to the Raiders, they don't have the offensive line to protect him. They don't have the pass catchers. Like, a lot of those throws only worked because Elijah Surratt's a beast in nature, and he was able to get open on those back shoulder throws. There's not a lot of guys in the Raiders who are going to be able to get open. Or Mendoza can do his best to throw a guy open, but if the talent isn't there for the receiver, he's just not going to be able to do it. So some of his strengths won't work in the NFL unless he has a decent supporting cast. I hope the Raiders trade the pick. I hope the Raiders take him, to be honest, because I don't think he would work out. But if they do trade the pick, I'll be happy for him. And you know what? Hopefully not New York, because dreams go to die in the Jets. You're wearing the Jets uniform right now. But you know what? Theoretically, you've got Garrett Wilson. You've got a decent offensive line in New York. Theoretically, it's a better position than the Raiders, but it's the Jets. So you don't want to see him go there. But Mendoza's my QB1. It wasn't particularly close between him and Simpson.